Hi everybody, I hope all of you are fine. I came back to teach a new lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you chapter 5. You are going to study chapter 5, and chapter 5 is about plane figures. How we can draw a figures on a plane like triangle, square, and polygon, and how we can find the dimensions of the figures, how we can find the side lengths, and how we can find the angles. Now we are going to start study section 1. Section 1 we have what? Chapter 5 section 1 we have measuring angles. Chapter 5 and section 1 we have the section 1 measuring angles. How we can measure the angles. In previous classes we learned how we can measure the side lengths. For example, if you have a square, like this is square, if you have a square, this is, for example, your classroom, this is classroom, okay, classroom. How we can find the side lengths. How many meters does we have in here, and in here we have how many meters. This is length. For example, we have 5 meters and 4 meters. So this is measuring the what? The sides. But how we can measure the angles? How we can measure the angles? Okay, we are going to learn about measuring angles. Now, guys, first of all, I want to teach you what is angle. Okay, what is angle, and then how we can measure the angles. Of course, if you have two rays, the first ray, this is the first ray, and this is the second ray. We have two rays and intersect or meet at one point, at this point. This point called vertex. This is vertex, okay? The angle between ray and 1 and 2 is called angle. This is angle, okay? This is angle. So ray 1 intersect at ray 2 at vertex. So we have angle in here, okay? It made angle between ray and 1, ray 1 and ray 2. Or for example, if you have like this, again we have ray 1, yes, ray 1, and we have ray 2. So we have what in here? We have angle. This is vertex. Vertex. This is called angle. Okay. Or if you have, even if you have two lines, this is the first line. This is the second line. So for example, A, B, C. In here we have what? We have angle between line of CB and line of BA. We have angle. This is called angle of angle B. This is angle, sign of angle, angle B, or we can say CBA. This is the sign of angle. It means angle of CBA. This is angle, okay? This is what? Angle. Now we are going to study how we can measure the angles. We learned about what is angle, but how we can measure the angles, okay? To measure the angles, we have a lot of instruments. But for plane, if you have a plane, if you want to measure angle on the plane, on the paper, we are going to use protractor, okay? This is what? This is protractor. So to measure the angle, but on the plane, okay, on the plane, not in real life because it is very small. So on the plane, we are going to use protractor. Look at this shape. This shape is what? It is protractor. This is protractor. Maybe most of you have in the home. So this is called protractor. Is used for what? Used for measuring angle. So how we can use protractor? Now I'm going to show you by short video how we can use protractor to measure the angles, okay? So look at the video and you will learn how we can use the protractor, okay? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Looking at this angle from the box in the corner, we can tell it's probably going to be a right angle tool we can use to measure with is a protractor. To measure with a protractor, there's a circle hole in the middle with a line extending out from either side of it. I'm going to line that circle up with my vertex and then line up that black line along my ray. When I do that, we can see that it points to 90 degrees on my other ray. So we know that this is a right angle worth 90 degrees. We can see from the way it's labeled that this is going to be an acute angle. So we know it's less than 90 degrees, but we don't know exactly what it's worth. This is where we can use our protractor to measure it. Again, I'm going to line up the circle of my vertex and use this black line to line up along my bottom ray. When we do that, we can see that our angle points to both 60 degrees and 120 degrees. Well, since we know it's an acute angle, we know it has to be less than 90, so 120 can't be a reasonable answer. So therefore, it must be 60 degrees. The other way we can tell is if I have two arcs of numbers, one on the inside and one on the outside, is by looking at our bottom ray. Our bottom ray pointing off to the right is where we're going to consider to be 0 degrees. The outside arc counts 0, 170. Well, that's not reasonable. The inside arc, on the other hand, counts 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. So I know I'm going to be following the inside values, making this still worth 60 degrees. From the way this angle is measured, we can tell it's an obtuse angle. So we know it's going to be between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. We can line up our protractor, though, to be more exact. I'm going to line up the circle at the vertex and my bottom ray along there. Now, the first thing I notice is that my ray isn't long enough to reach the numbers. So, since rays can be extended forever in one direction, I can take my protractor, use it as a straight edge, line it up with the ray, and use it to extend longer so it'll cross my protractor. Now, when I line it up, I can see it crosses at both 35 and 145 degrees. Well, since it's an obtuse angle, we know 35 isn't going to be reasonable, so that means it must be 145. Our other way to tell is, again, look at our bottom ray. It's pointing off here to the left, which means I'm going to...
Okay, this is how we can use protractor to measure the angles. Okay, I think you learned it from this short video, and you can do again and again in the home to use protractor. Okay, now we are going to use protractor to answer the example one. Example one from the book, we have measuring angles. How we can measure the angle? Use a protractor to find the measure of each angle. Okay, first of all, angle, this is means angle of DMG. So where is DMG? D, start here, D, M to G. DMG, it means this angle. So I cannot show you right now to use protractor on my screen. So let's try. You can do at home. What is use protractor? This is vertex. Use protractor in here, and the degree is here. You should read 30. So it means this angle is what is 30 degree. So measure this M is measure of DMG. Angle DMG is 30 degree. Okay, 30 degree. Second one, we have measure of GMB. Angle of what? GMB. What's of GMB? G to M to B. GMB, this angle. Again, this is vertex. You can use protractor to find the angle. Of course, place the protractor in here, and you should read 45 degree in here. So it means this angle is what? Is 45 degree. Also, we have what? We have 45 degree. Next one, we have C. Okay, DMB. Where is DMB? D, start from here, to M to B. DMB, it means this angle. So we can add this angle with this angle, it becomes to the angle of DMB. So we can say measure of DMB, okay, angle DMB is equal to, in here we have 30 degree plus 45 degree. We can add, or you can use protractor again in here. In here it should be raised 75 degree. This is what 75. And I forgot to tell you the unit of, we can say the unit of angle, measure of angle, okay, measure of angle is what? Angle is degree, okay, it is what? It is degree. This is small circle, like for example 30 degree. As you know, each measure has own unit. For example, if you have the classroom, in here we have 5 meters, so the distance, the unit of distance is meter, okay, meter, or we can have kilometer, millimeter, and the degree of angle is what? The unit of angle is degree, okay. That's why we are going to write down 30 degree, 45 degree, and 75 degree. So in here we have what? We have 75 degree. The last one, measure of GMF. Where's GMF? I'm going to change the color. G, okay, GMF. Where's G? G, okay, in here G, start to M to F. GMF, what is the angle? Okay, right now I'm going to show you. In here we have 0 degree. Start from 0 to 90 degree. This is, it means right angle, 90 degree. And plus 90, this is 90. And again we have 90. 90 plus 90 is 180. And again we have 90 degree. So it becomes to 270. And in here we have what? Plus 90, again 360 degree. So it means 0 to 90 to 180 to 270. So if we have just one straight line, if I have just one straight line, it is 90 plus 90 is 180. So always if you have like just one straight line, what is the angle of this straight line? Is 180 degree. It is look like here we have what? We have straight, yes. So we have just one straight. So we have what? We have 180 degree. Okay, guys, 180 degree. Okay, this is how we can use protractor to measure the angles. Next one, we have what? We have new thing in here. Example one, show that DMB, this is DMB, okay, and DMB is equal to what? Sorry, DMB, this is DMB. I'm going to show you D, this is point D, to M, to B, DMB, this is DMB, this angle, okay? Okay, is equal to DMG plus GMB, of course, equal to DMG, this part, this angle, plus GMB, this part. Of course, it is not. So the angle DMG and GMB are called adjacent angle. So what is adjacent angle? We have new things. Adjacent angle. Two angles are adjacent, okay, if they have a common vertex. If you have two angles and if they have the common vertex, they are called adjacent angles and are separated by common ray. For example, we have what? We have this one. So this angle 1, this is angle 2. Angle 1 and 2, are they adjacent or not? Yes, they have, each one, they have own angle, but they have the same vertex. So we can say angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. Adjacent, okay? Adjacent, okay? They are called adjacent. For example, another example, if you have like this, okay? Okay, we have A and B and C and D. So angle A, okay, we can say angle ABC, is it adjacent and CBD, are they adjacent or not? Okay, we have two different angles. This is angle 1, this is angle 2. So, and they have the same vertex and separated in different ray. So they are what? We can say they are adjacent, okay? So they are adjacent. Okay, this is adjacent angles, okay? For example, in here, this angle with this angle, Are they adjacent or not? We have the same vertex for both angles, okay? So they are adjacent. Next one, we have congruent. Okay, congruent, two angles are said to be congruent, okay, if you can move one of them into the other so that they match exactly. If you move this angle and over here, if they match exactly, it means if they have the same measure, it means they are what? They are congruent. So we have angle congruent postulate. We have two things. The first one, if two angles are congruent, if they are congruent, they have the same measurement. And second one, if two angles have the same measure, then they are congruent. For example, this angle is 110 degree, and this angle is 110 degree also. So they have the same measure. They have the same measure, yes? So we can say they are congruent. Yes, they are congruent. Or if you have a congruent, if you have two same angle, for example, this is one knot and this is one knot, it means they have the same measure. So they are congruent, it means they have the same measure. We have or the same measure, we have 48 degree, 48 degree, it means A, we can say A is congruent. This is the sign of congruent, one equal and one like this, 2B, 2B, okay? Or if we have C and D in here, we can say C is congruent to what? To D. Congruent, it means they have the same measure. They are similar, okay? This is congruent. Okay. Next one, we have what? Identify adjacent angle and congruent angles. Okay, we have to find the adjacent angles and the congruent angles. First of all, use the figure, right? We have to use this figure. Name two adjacent angles. Name two adjacent angles. Adjacent angle, it means they have the same vertex. For example, guys, okay, MDN, MDN, okay, MDN. MDN with what? With ND, with ND, okay, NDB, NDB is adjacent, NDB, NDB. They are what? They are adjacent. Okay, one more, okay, one more. We have to have the same vertex. Look at, guys, look, I'm going to change the color, okay? Look, MDK, MDK, MDK with what? With KDL. Why? Because they have the same vertex. KDL. KDL. This is what this is. They are adjacent. You can say they are adjacent. Okay. They are adjacent. What about congruent? Name two congruent angles. Congruent, it means they have to have the same measure. So look, guys, in here we have N and D, B. NDB is 45 degree. Write down NDB. Measure of NDB is what? It's 45 degree. And look, KDL is 45 degree also. KDL. KDL is what? Is 45 degree. So they have the same measure. We can say, in here, we can say, okay, measure, we can say NDB, NDB, angle of NDB is congruent to what? KDL, to KDL, okay? This is, they are congruent. One more, can we write one more? Yes, of course, why not? Just a minute, I'm changing the color, okay. In here, look, guys, MD, MDB, MD is 90 degree, MDB. I wrote to you in here if you have 0, 90 degree. So MDB is what? Is 90 degree. Write down MDB. MDB is 90 degree. So what about one more? Also in here we have 90 degree, yes? 90 degree. M, and changing the color. Okay, look. M to D to K, we have 90 degree. MDK. So MDK is what? Is 90 degree. So we have the same measure. As I told you, if you have the same measure, it means they are congruent. So we can say MDB, measure of MDB, angle of MDB, and angle of MDK, they are what? They are congruent. They are congruent. This is equal and this is congruent. Okay, this is what's adjacent and what is congruent angles. Next one. Okay, we did like. Okay, next one. Again, we have to use the right figure. C is what? MDN. Where's MDN? MDN. It means this angle. And NDB. NDB. This angle. Are congruent. Okay, are congruent. It means what? It means they have the same measure. So in here it is 45. What is here? It is 45 also. Why? Because they are congruent. They are congruent means they have the same measure. If you have 45 in here also you have 45 degree. Find measure MDB. MDB. So where is MDB? MDB. The all angle. So MDB is equal to 45 degree plus 45 degree also. Yes, because it is all. 45 plus 45, it is 90 degree. So we can say measure of MDB is equal to what, guys? Is equal to MDN, measure of angle MDN plus measure of angle NDB. So in here it is 45 degree plus 45 degree is equal to what? 90 degree. So a measure of MDB is equal to what? Is equal to 90 degree. Second one and the last one, show that MDN and KDL are congruent. Okay. Now where is, first of all, where is MDN? Okay, M to D to N, MDN. MDN is what? Is 45 degree. Okay, MDN is equal to 45 degree. Okay, angle, measure of angle MDN, 45. And KDL, where's KDL? KDL, yes, KDL. KDL also is 45 degree. Measure of KDL is 45 degree also. So show that they are congruent. Are they congruent or not? We have to show that. Okay, they have the same measure. Yes. And as I told you, if they have the same measure, it means they are congruent. So they are congruent. Okay. So they are congruent. Okay, guys. This is how we can show if they have the same measure, they are congruent, or if they are congruent, it means they have the same measure. In here, it says they are congruent. It means they have the same measure. Okay, guys, my lesson has finished. This is homework for you. Exercise 5.2.1, section 1. We have exercises. Okay. Use the figure right to exercise 1 to 10. We are going to use this figure. Okay, this figure. This is figure. We are going to use this figure to answer from exercise 1 to exercise 10. Okay. Use a protractor to find the measure of each angle. Of course, you have to have protractor at home. Then you can find the measure of all of them. Okay. And then we found that, for example, in here, for example, it's 45 degree. Don't erase because we need the data to exercise to find the measure of each angle that you found to solve exercises. We found some of them, like in here, for example, 30. Don't erase because we needed to answer exercise 5 to 10. Okay. My lesson has finished. I'm waiting your homework. See you later.